gonna be one of these movies, isn't it? This is Disney's terrible dinosaur movie. It is their first attempt at a CG movie, and now it's celebrating its 25th anniversary. Yay! A by and large dull movie with the greatest opening sequence ever made that I remember enjoying the first 10 minutes of as a kid before completely zoning out around halfway through. If anything, the drama around this movie's production is actually far more interesting. Its origins actually predating Jurassic Park, originally intended as a stop-motion movie, Kate Bush being screwed over when she was essentially intended as the Phil Collins to this movie's Tarzan. And also, somebody legitimately died making this movie. How does that even happen? It's animated. Well, anyway, we begin with a scene that is genuinely excellent, the journey of the egg. One of the most striking openings to any movie ever, and it's a real shame it's not attached to a better movie. It's right up there with what Disney had previously done with the Lion King opening, I would say. A completely wordless masterpiece combined with an incredible score from James Newton Howard. This would have won at the Oscars for Best Short Film if they'd just cut their losses on the rest of it. It genuinely feels like they dropped a drone back in time and then showed us the footage. You almost lament the amount this becomes a talking animals movie for breaking the illusion that they're just watching these characters do their thing. It's also a scene that makes you genuinely baffled that Disney's next stab at CGI movies was Chicken Little. Well, in part, that's because Disney did not actually produce this movie in-house. They did not have the resources themselves quite yet. Alas, their collaborations with Pixar at the time as well. And in this case, the Pixar of this particular number was none other than Dream Quest Images. You remember them? Or at least it was for a second, because Disney then bought them out and swallowed them whole, and all of a sudden Disney had a visual effects department called The Secret Lab. That probably makes more sense. The movie at least looks like they upped the game on CGI dinosaurs. Of course, we've seen better effects since then, but still, this was great at the time. You can tell this was a breakthrough in the year 2000. But there is something authentic in the behavior of the creatures in this opening scene, with the wider shots benefiting from being a blend of animation and live-action environments. Weirdly, there is more live action to this animated movie than what a lot of people will actually call the live-action Lion King. It's funny how Disney goes full circle like this. Though interestingly, a lot of the issues present in that movie, Disney first made in this one as well, as we'll get into. The tranquil dinosaur nesting sequence is short-lived though, as this little dino guy has a classic stumble into the monster moment.
Run.
And the monster is genuinely pretty terrifying. I mean, within 2 minutes, the guy straight up killed one of them already, with this really harrowing attack, then cutting to a dust-fueled wide shot. First few minutes in and the kids are already crying. That's my kind of movie. It's why I like Finding Nemo as well. But this is what I mean. There is so much potential for what this movie could have been. A wordless masterpiece with intense sequences like this. I'm absolutely sold on Dinosaur at this point. And fair play to them for not going with the T-Rex as the main villain of the piece. They instead went with the lesser-known Carnotaurus, which apparently was a lot smaller than what it even is in this movie. But hey, we got a family of lemurs on the way. Maybe comparatively that doesn't feel too bad. They decided that the Jurassic Park movies had very much done the T-Rex, so wanted to do something different. Alas, a different species that they then scaled up to be the same size as the T-Rex. What am I saying? They just added horns to a T-Rex, didn't they? From here, we pan down to the one remaining egg. It really is the Nemo of our little story, except Marlin's dead too.
Nemo! No!
And we then have a few interesting characters eyeing up the unborn dino for breakfast. Again, no dialogue at all, because it didn't need it. Something that apparently the creatives also wanted to push for, but, you know, Disney loves their talking animals. Obviously, the egg is narratively important, but using its journey as a device to showcase the world of dinosaurs was just an inspired choice here. Again though, does some of the animation look a little sketchy now? Yeah. Particularly that underwater sequence where we were still a few years away from Finding Nemo, making a breakthrough for more convincing underwater stuff, and paving the way for masterpieces such as Shark Tale. But especially when you transition to above water to actual footage of water, it's one bit that particularly stood out to me as a little dated, you know? But still, especially considering they'd been working on this since 1996, deserves its place in film history. This is also apparently the footage they used in the trailers, so you wonder if people even knew about the dinosaurs talking. Of course, the music is arguably the most iconic feature of this sequence. It's one thing I definitely remember from this movie, and that makes sense as Disney started licensing the track for other movies to use in their trailers. Not a bad shout when you have a movie with this score, but overall didn't do very well. However, all good things must come to an end.
Wake up, Alex! Welcome to Madagascar.
And unfortunately for us, the pterodactyl drops the damn egg onto Lemur Island.
Yar, what is it?
The dialogue has begun, leaving us with an iguanodon version of Tarzan raised by lemurs. Weirdly foreshadowing a few movies to come out of the 2000 CG boom, with a setting of Madagascar and a little bit of Ellie and Ice Age 2 thrown in there as well. And don't get me started about the wild. But mainly, yeah, it's Tarzan if it was a dinosaur. I'm just baffled why they thought, well, that was an incredibly convincing nature sequence that never was. Let's throw in some lemurs. To go from slice of life to lemurs coexisted with dinosaurs, you end up with kids like me who thought that was actually a thing. Interestingly, the ancestor of the lemur has been traced to 62 million years ago, so in a wider context, I guess you could say that's close. But then you remember that that still means there's about 4 million years separating the dinosaur extinction event and the ancestor of the lemurs. To be fair, the fur on the lemurs looks pretty good, considering Monsters Inc. was supposedly the trailblazer on that a year later. The character animation, on the other hand, interesting.
Babies grow up. You keep that thing. One day we'll turn our backs. It'll be picking us out of its teeth.
Like, the facial performance is so exaggerated compared to that voice, it's pretty hilarious. Very much breaking us away from that harrowing Carnotaurus attack we open with. As for the substance of this scene, well, it very much plays out like the start of Tarzan.
I'm sorry, little one.
It's pretty much shot for shot, baby Tarzan's expressions just done again. Except this time with a pee gag. Great.
Disgusting!
And with that sound, we mark to a hard cut on a now fully grown Aladar.
Hairball.
And with all the Tarzan parallels, you may think we're in line for some exploration of this dinosaur who's been raised from the egg by lemurs. But no, they never really explore that at all, to be honest. Not that I can think of much about a dinosaur raised by lemurs, but I'm not the one who wrote myself into that corner. But what we do get is some pretty uncanny territory, because behind the scenes, the animators had wanted more dinosaur-looking facial features. However, it was clear that dialogue was going to be a part of this movie, and so those designs talking just doesn't look right. A lesson they did not take on board for the Lion King remake, huh? Which is why we have this as a result of a slightly humanized face on a realistic dinosaur body. Much more natural. Basically, what we ended up with in Mufasa. History really does repeat itself. Anyway, Aladar has skipped the Hakuna Matata montage and has had his full childhood with the lemurs by now. And let's just say he's gotten very familiar with his adopted brothers and sisters.
We can smooch right here.
Okay. So now with that tone established, it's time to meet the also now grown-up comedy side character / sex pest. Why does Disney keep doing this?
I'm known as the Professor of Love, and school's in session.
Oh my god, that's his first line. Putting aside the idea that this prehistoric lemur has a concept of schools and professors, this guy is basically just horny for most of the movie, and that's his whole character. Not to mention, the character's name is literally just Vermin.
Come on, hot stuff. Let's get going.
Of course, logically, the birds and the bees are on the brain because it's time for lemur mating season. Kids may not get a great deal of accuracy about dinosaurs, but hey, they'll learn about the mating cycle of lemurs. Just what we want out of Dinosaur 2000. But first, both the boys and the girls get a pep talk from two ends of the same family. It's literally swingers evening between these cousins, it would seem.
If you mess up, don't worry. They'll never remember.
Except Aladar, of course, who seems to be the pimp of the situation. I'm not kidding.
Hey, girls! Look what just pulled into town. Hey, ladies! Your buffet table of love.
These writers just decided to go to 11 with these over-the-top chat-up lines and nothing else where dialogue's concerned. So I guess on the back end, you've got one room full of animators making these really advanced dinosaurs and upsetting one stop-motion guy. And then the writer's room, where they're just throwing in horny lines at the wall. And this Vermin guy is basically the biggest sound piece of all that.
Hey, free samples! Get me while I'm hot!
And visually, this scene once again looks great. It's just weird we're now seeing a lemur's mating cycle featuring 90s shut-up lines when 10 minutes ago I was watching Walking with Dinosaurs the movie. The tone is uncatchable. On the marketing front at least, this movie had so much going for it. They even had some of the Jurassic Park team involved in this movie. So what went wrong?
You like kids, I see.
Jumping off the dinosaur trend of the 90s, which was then made even more popular by BBC's Walking with Dinosaurs, which used a very similar filming technique to Dinosaur, and just got its US broadcast on Discovery Channel in before this movie did. Except this one felt like a real documentary, and didn't make the dinosaurs talk. Speaking of which, Disney would later co-produce an actual Walking with Dinosaurs the movie, where they got rid of the documentary style and made the dinosaurs talk again. Do they ever learn? Nonetheless, this scene of lemurs featuring a random iguanodon is another technical achievement of blending CG with live action. I genuinely can't tell which parts of the scenery are real or fake. Of course, Vermin the Horny doesn't find their mate whilst the others ascend the tree for some sweet loving. Sadly for them, the Sky also wants to do a Chicken Little.
Everyone run for cover! SOS! Mayday! Duck and cover!
Man, Disney just keep making the same movies again and again in this period. But yes, we're now introducing the asteroid scene, which takes that tone and switches us right back to the awe and intensity of earlier. The sequence is once again horrifying, but it looks absolutely amazing. At 4 or 5, I had no concept of this being a mini version of a major apocalyptic event, so I didn't fully understand this existential horror at the time, which is also reflected in the characters here. There's a sort of tragedy to their innocence faced with this devastating event.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, no Sherlock.
Kinda weird we're facing it with lemurs instead of dinosaurs, but there we are. And the haunting score just adding to that tonal shift. But did you know originally it was going to be a song for this scene? From none other than the legendary Kate Bush. So just picture the running up that hill scene from Stranger Things, but replace the kids with lemurs having their orgy ruined by asteroids. Disney. But reportedly, the song didn't test well with preview audiences and Bush refused to rewrite it, so there you go. We may well have missed out on a Kate Bush dinosaur album, but never mind. Not a big loss. Anyway, back to the trauma. The huge asteroid arriving through the clouds is the most terrifying shot in this scene. A sight so haunting that everyone able to see it in that proximity would soon discover that's the last thing they would ever see. But not in this movie. They get both the front row seat for the asteroid and get to survive it as well. The main family, anyway. The others basically got one last bit of off-screen hanky-panky in the tree and then died off-screen as well. They disappeared the same way they appeared, through a big bang.
Started with a big bang.
Presumably, whilst a homage to it, this isn't intended to be the definitive mass extinction event. Because that one took out half the planet, let alone a tiny island next to the crash site. This is more like a soft launch for telling kids, yeah, the dinosaurs eventually got hit with an even bigger one of these. Even though they survive, it doesn't take away from this scene at all. The moment of impact when there's initially a break of silence before the first shockwave is actually incredibly well done. As is the chase from the impact destroying the island, as the not-so-fast dinosaurs covered in lemurs also find themselves absolutely coated in plot armor. But luckily, the impact only affects the water on one side of the island. It may not hold water, pardon the pun, but the intensity and remorse for their island afterwards is still very impactful. Pardon the pun again.
Come on. We can't stay here.
And so off they go on an adventurous tour of mild peril, starting with the raptors. Jurassic Park closed with them, so may as well start with them this time. And to be fair, they do go for a different design with them here, and I'm sure someone will point out in the comments that it's actually a completely different species entirely. That lasts a minute or so, and then we meet the herd.
You heard, Crone? Move it!
They have found this herd, including the love interest Aladar was missing whilst the lemurs were mating in the trees.
Watch it!
Regardless, it still takes them an age to realize it may be a shout to walk in the same direction. He basically lets the whole herd tread on him before he decides to go along with what the guy at the front said, and not even in like a funny cartoon moment way. Realizing it's that or dinner for the raptors, they join the herd being led by this Kron guy.
We'll rest here for the night.
You sure? You've barely moved from where the raptors just were. Don't worry, despite being really close to the herd of sleeping dinosaurs, they never actually have a go. We also meet the Brachiosaurus, who talks like Mary Poppins in this movie.
Just give him a kick.
Oh, I couldn't possibly.
Part of a two old ladies double act at the back there.
I heard you say something about Nesting grounds.
The hard job now is just getting there.
We then get our first full taste of this Kron guy, and
Let the weak set the pace. Now there's an idea.
it's our tough leader archetype for the movie. I was wondering when we'd get the Tarzan's dad character, since we're basically just following that again. And of course, the female Iguanodon is with them, parting with a flirty line to display her one role here immediately.
That's how my brother treats newcomers, no matter how charming they are.
This is one of their, 4 exchanges they have throughout this movie. Male-written female characters have got to do the male-written female characters thing. They're just mildly flirty and get the main character laid at the end of the day. Welcome to early 2000s Disney. But let's stick to the here and now. Time to give the horny lemur more dialogue. Whilst we're at it, love that.
You sure know how to catch a girl's eye there, stud.
Yeah, how about you go over to her while I watch, Aladar? And just a reminder of the tier of dialogue we're dealing with here, here's an awkward line to finish off the scene.
You just consider yourself lucky. That's all that's following us.
Honestly, I was half expecting she'd wink at the audience at the end of that, which the raptor weirdly sort of does. Gosh, sure hope nothing else is following them. On to the very next morning, where Kron delivers more "I'm this" character lines.
You and that little parasite better get moving!
A call that Vermin's libido wastes no time in answering.
Hey, there's your girlfriend.
Very much the direction of this whole scene. Hey there, yes, you've made it to the halfway mark of this video, so come subscribe if you haven't already for more. And now to the second half. Cheers! This movie has quickly, grounded to a halt. I feel like it only just started. I feel like we've had 2 scenes, and now we're stuck. Bear in mind, there's been a maximum of 3 lines between Aladar and Nera at this point. Yet this little guy is all in.
What you need is a little help from the love monkey.
With said advice being basically verbal harassment. It's the early 2000s. It's something. Which, to be fair, doesn't go well.
That, children, is what's known as a jerkosaurus.
Oh, at least there's some consequences for this little pervert's behavior. Anyway, on to this long walk through the desert now that that's finally over. And to be honest, that's all I remember from this part of the movie. Feeling like a long walk because you're literally just watching a long walk. It's the opening of Ice Age 1, but it just keeps going. Keeps going.
We're moving too slow. I'll pick up the pace.
And that's the thing. It's not much of a story behind this big herd walking with occasional obstacles. We just follow a herd of dinosaurs walking for the next hour. The story is as paper thin as it gets. And sure, we get some explanation of the advantages of unity over cruelty later on, but it's all quite surface level, and a lot of the stuff this movie tries to say is often, well, said. It's not really shown. Linear and uncomplicated can be done really well, but here it's just kind of dull storytelling. Though I do like that they cut to those who don't make it through this trek being taken by the raptors. It's good to see some mortality on show in this supposedly brutal world after seeing our full main cast survive an island getting wiped out by an asteroid. And it turns out that the raptors are not
All that's following us.
The MVPs of this movie are back, presumably to claim that sweet egg they missed out on in the opening scene. And that's not all, as the lake the herd were heading to has now dried up, giving us a brief glimpse of dimensionality to Kron, as you see the concern of responsibility in his eyes. Wouldn't it have been great if Kron was more of a layered character, a leader with so much on his shoulders, having to deal with different moral dilemmas in a way that's endearing and also challenging for him? What a shame. And so as Kron pushes for the herd to get moving, Nera steps in with all the gusto of Gal Gadot on a good day.
If we keep going like this, we'll lose half the herd.
With Kron then going full Thanos on us.
Then we save the half that deserves to live.
Jesus, this guy's brutal. As the herd keep moving, we reach the one other scene I randomly remember from childhood, where the big dinosaur stamps the water out of the ground. There's something weirdly satisfying, I guess. Maybe that's why I remember it. I didn't remember Vermin's line, though.
I always did like big girls!
Please give it a break. Even when they're longing for water, the guy's just obsessed. They then make the mistake of being nice and letting the herd down.
Good. Now, get out of the way.
Yeah, I've now dropped the he's a tough leader with responsibility idea. He's just a douche. What a shame. As carnage ensues, we then cut to 2 scouts from the herd, unaware that they're facing a classic horror movie trope.
There's no water here. I think we should get back.
Never a good sign when you're looking for the thing the other characters have already found. And so, ambush ensues. We even get a brief glimpse of one of them getting eaten in the background. It's pretty brutal.
Now you just take a foot and press.
Back to the herd, and I still honestly can't tell how much of these backgrounds are live action. It did not come without consequences though, as legitimately an on-set accident for this predominantly animated movie sadly cost a crew member their life. While shooting one of the live action backgrounds, the camera boom mic hit a cross-country power line, seriously wounding one crew member whilst claiming the life of another. The tragedy, understandably, led to Disney being sued for violating worker safety laws. It just goes to show how important safety protocols really are on a movie set, even when you're shooting purely background set pieces. And of all movies that it happens to, it's Dinosaur 2000? This movie is just baffling through and through. Because you see, this was originally intended to be a stop-motion animation hybrid with no CG at all. Looking at Disney's 90s slate with Nightmare Before Christmas and the often forgotten James and the Giant Peach, this does make sense. They were clearly also trying to diversify their animation with stop motion as well as CG with Pixar. Remember, before Jurassic Park came out, when these were likely commissioned, it was still not fully understood that computer animation would change the industry forever. But then, it very much did come out and became the highest grossing movie of all time at the time, and sent the demand for computer graphics and indeed dinosaurs into overdrive. To which Disney went, well, I think we got a movie on the shelf like that. Back to the movie itself, still having shared very little dialogue together, and Nero watches Aladar displaying his dad vibes with the two baby iguanodons, leading to their first full exchange in this whole damn movie, which starts as natural as you'd expect from this script.
You like kids, I see.
That's one way to put it.
You like kids, I see.
No. Wait.
Not the chat-up line I'd go for, but hey-ho, I'm not an iguanodon. I'd say maybe she should have gotten some tips from Vermin, but I don't think anyone should be left alone with him.
Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
And boy, their chemistry feels like it's just dripping.
You don't survive if you're not...
Strong enough.
Yeah.
Like, usually they cover up the fact that the voice actors did their lines separately pretty well, but here, you can definitely tell they're not responding to each other. Which does take away from the fact that this is meant to be the scene that we first have of the two romantic leads having a conversation. Only halfway into this movie, may I add. And if they were actually in the same room for this, I'm sorry. It's pretty impressive to do such a bad job that it sounds like you recorded your lines separately.
Look, Nira.
Like, this is the most wooden line delivery in the movie. Though, to be fair, I guess they didn't get much material to work with. The damn filmmakers didn't even want dialogue in this movie before, and boy does it show.
But it's all I know.
This is probably also a good point as to point out that this isn't actually what an iguanodon looks like. It's close, but there's one key thing they're missing, because iguanodons, they had beaks. And in earlier versions of the movie, they actually had beaks on the characters. It's not like it's a new revelation from dinosaur fossils, but apparently when they mixed that in with the more humanized faces to bring out the characters, it just looked really weird. And so we have a movie with beakless iguanodons instead. You're welcome. Anyway, Vermin now pokes his head to have a look. Doesn't say anything, but you know exactly what he's thinking. Before getting absolutely roasted by Papa Lemur here.
One down. And, well, one down.
Brutal. Meanwhile, the guy from the duo who didn't get his butt eaten earlier is back.
You led them right to us. Maybe you can feed them with your hide.
Whoopsie doodle. And Kron is as cheerful as ever when Aladar tries to get everyone to work together.
If you ever interfere again, I'll kill you.
Lovely guy. Anyway, brace yourself for another tonal shift. It's time for more choice comedy from the lemurs.
You don't want to know where I got blistered.
Cueing them to find a cave for the night that somehow fits a whole Brachiosaurus, one of the tallest animals to ever walk the earth. We then do get an interesting exchange between Aladar and Kron's previous right-hand man, Bruton, now left behind like so many others.
What is it with you?
At least I know enough to get in out of the rain.
In helping this guy, we can see a clear difference in ideology between Kron's survival of the fittest and Aladar's more empathetic approach. It's pretty surface level stuff, but it shows that there was potential to explore these themes to a more profound degree.
It's your choice, not your fate.
I just don't think they ever quite get beyond this, which is a shame. Of course, things can't be that simple with the Carnotaurs now sniffing around. And to be fair, the shots of them with lightning in the background go pretty hard.
What do we do? Wake the others.
Time for the gang to sneak off, including the characteristically heavy-footed Brachiosaurus. Spoilers, it doesn't work out. And as the main character is framed to be eaten in a way that the plot armor strictly forbids, the disposable Bruton, who is planning on dying anyway, gets in there to be the martyr of this situation. Bruton, yes, I'm afraid. Meanwhile, Kron's still in full swing, leaving babies to die now. To be fair, that's probably the most accurate dinosaur moment in this movie. Nature is cruel. It's fine though, Nera's there with her one-note line delivery.
It's okay, little ones.
All the while, Aladar's still getting to grips with shouting no. No! Leading us to our textbook movie moment, where the hero doubts everything they thought. Out loud.
We're not meant to survive.
Yeah, you can say that again. You were meant to be vaporized by that asteroid earlier, my boy. All the same, it's a pretty dramatic reaction to have when getting stuck in a network of caves, compared to a moment ago when you faced actual threat to your life. Aladar's reached his emo phase, I guess. Thankfully, the Brachiosaurus reminds everyone she's a giant Brachiosaurus and gets them out of the cave. I swear half this movie's obstacles are resolved by this character stamping her damn feet against something.
I always did like big girls!
Through which they find a completely unspoilt span of land. Wow, that was a long cave.
The nesting grounds.
I half remember this feeling like they just found a portal to another world. It's certainly convenient, isn't it? It's Ice Age 3.
Our new home.
And it comes with a pool!
Wonder why he's interested in a pool situation. But the rest of the herd, and most notably the love interest, haven't arrived yet. We still have some story to go. And Aladar runs off to be the hero. Particularly as, whilst the strike miraculously left the grounds in perfect condition, it did block the entrance. Some real video game logic going on here.
I hope Crone's in a listening mood.
Our future is over these rocks.
He in fact was not in a listening mood.
Get the herd out of here! A Carnotaur's coming!
Cue Dino fight scene. It's just the end of Lion King, isn't it? Again, one of the stronger parts of the movie, which coincidentally features no dialogue. Funny that. Who knew? With Nera's intervention being a genuine surprise. Fully cementing Aladar as the true Dino Moses of our story. A very bare-bones journey to put him on that pedestal though, let's face it. Beyond he's a good guy, I couldn't really say I know who Aladar is as a character. But hey, Mosasaurus. But as the herd follow him and Nera, we've got one more Carnotaurus encounter to really cement our climax here. And it's revealed in the distance, once again, does genuinely give a sense of dread to the situation. Time for Aladar to crack his teamwork knuckles.
Stand together!
Which actually works. Our Carny friend doesn't even take a nibble of one of them, which seems weird. Like, come on, buddy. You're just letting lunch walk past you. I can't protect all of them. Give it a go. Of course, there is one guy left over to have a nibble of. And our guy Kron gets particularly unlucky here. After scrambling up the rocks on all fours with great difficulty, Mr. Carnotaurus sprints up there on two legs. The little arms didn't even need to get involved. He's just straight up that rockfall. You know, they've got free climbing at the Olympics now. Let's get a Carnodon on the team. And as with the other actions in this movie, it's a pretty good fight. I can imagine dinosaur-obsessed kids particularly getting a kick out of a 4-player Carnotaurus Iguanodon fight. I can't remember it myself as I got pretty bored out by the middle section, but if my attention span had gotten it to this far, I probably would have loved it. Ending with an absolute classic, where clearly the natural thing here is for Aladar to push the Carnotaurus off the edge. However, that does put us into the Han shot first waters, where we can't really have the hero killing anyone. So what happens instead is Aladar pushes the Carnotaurus towards the edge, but it's the guy's weight on the crumbly rocks that actually sends him down. It's all good, Disney. Aladar wouldn't even be done for manslaughter on that one. Sadly, our favorite Iguanodon Kron doesn't make it out of this one. Neera, saddened by her brother's death, Aladar's on hand to get to first base in front of his corpse. And once the grief snuggle's all done with, Aladar finally gets everyone to through the cave portal into paradise.
Welcome home.
And boy did he mean that, because we genuinely then fade to their eggs already.
And got busy!
I mean, of course it was gonna happen. They had such a great chat about it earlier.
You like kids, I see.
These two's whole damn arc was to breed, with very little dialogue to even justify it. Like, I know it's a movie all about nature, but, you know, it's also a thing in nature to hold back on breeding when your life is typically, you know, in danger. I'm pretty certain the asteroid thing at the beginning of the movie would kind of, you know, turn everybody off for at least a couple of hours. And of course, we have one more character's arc to wrap up now, haven't we? Because Vermin has found himself a whole collection of lemur ladies for him to treat himself to.
Any of you ladies up for a game of monkey in the middle?
We just couldn't leave the movie without one more unhinged line like that. We were just coming out of the 90s, I guess. And they all immediately grab him, so I guess the creep just got his way. What are his great defining features again? And with one final, admittedly spectacular shot, that's the note we leave our favorite characters in paradise with, which I'm sure they enjoyed for a couple more years before the actual asteroid hit the planet and wiped them all out. That first one was probably a precursor from the same asteroid belt, let's face it. And that was Disney's terrible Dinosaur 2000. Overall, it's just a bland movie with some solid moments and some terrible dialogue, featuring a horny lemur guy throughout. Love that. It's visually stunning for its time, but when you've undercooked the story and the characters to this degree, it leaves a lot to be desired. Dinosaur, raised by lemurs on an island blows up, they join a herd finds new place, the end. That's about it, really. Whether it actually had potential to go further, I guess is up for debate, but with production issues like it has had, I guess this is what comes out at the end. Because it does sound like it's been a production nightmare over the years. Because you see, part of what paused this project was that Phil Tippett was hired for Jurassic Park, which was also going to go for a stop-motion dinosaur effect. However, his models for this version of the movie were then completely thrown out in favor of the new CG dinosaurs. He was still kept on the movie to assist with the computer modeling, but he was understandably depressed over the fact that this art form he'd dedicated his life to was literally being pushed aside like this. In fact, when Steven Spielberg asked him, how do you feel about that, when he got the news, he genuinely replied, "I feel extinct," which then Spielberg actually put in the movie. So just imagine how this guy felt when heading back to Disney, only for them to say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be switching out your models as well." Sorry. But hey, I can't really name another movie that has an iguanodon without its beak hosting a lemur mating ritual, so it's got that going for it at least. A critical disappointment for something that was meant to usher in a new era for Disney animation, and a decade-long behind-the-scenes disaster. Yet, I do understand why people in my generation may look back on it fondly. This represents to a lot of people their first exposure to dinosaurs, given that Jurassic Park is something you should really only watch past a certain age. And seemingly, this was particularly the case on home video, as Dinosaur apparently made almost $200 million on its home release, which yes, was on VHS. I still think it's a bad movie overall, but I also don't hate it. And it certainly holds an interesting place in cinema history with all of the advances it did make on a technical level. Plus, it's a sort of precursor to Disney's weird era, as they switched the CGI with the likes of Chicken Little and The Wild. Though we did get Meet the Robinsons out of that time as well, so I guess it wasn't all bad. But here's our chance at least to remember, and hopefully at some point forget, that it all began with Disney's terrible Dinosaur movie. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this terrible episode. Do tell us your thoughts on Dinosaur. You have childhood memories attached to this, or was this entirely new to you and now you're scarred slightly? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more, and I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!